This episode is sponsored by Casey Lott, attorney at law.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Off the Record 662. I'm Morgan Rowe.
And I'm Alyssa Martin.
We're from the couch today. We are live from the couch because life has been lifing, right?
Yes.
And hi, you got scammed?
Yeah, on top of just life being life, and we've been super busy the last month,
Yeah.
you and I both. So we're catching up, and today's been a planning podcast day. Also, catching you up on things, which include my lovely scam story. So
what?
Yeah.
Who gets scammed anymore? I feel like
former news reporters and their moms.
what happened?
Kind of just wanted to take this time to also use it as a hey, take it from me, this can happen to anybody. Obviously, we had the storms come through Friday night, into Saturday, and it was Saturday, during Saturday's storm, that was myself, my mom, my cousin, his wife, and their baby that were at my house.
Because you have all electric, so you're not without
Yes.
heat or hot water. You have it
So
all.
thankfully, I've just opened my house to my family so they can come over and shower. Literally, I don't know how I got lucky enough to have all electric at a time where literally the city of Tupelo and everybody else has gas.
Yeah. So if you're not from Tupelo and you're listening, there was a gas explosion last week in Tupelo, and most of the city, restaurants, residential businesses have been without hot water and gas. Well, just gas in general. So if you are operating on gas and you don't have it, you don't have hot water.
You don't have heat.
You don't have heat. It's been a huge problem. I talked to somebody yesterday and they were like, I literally haven't washed my hair in a week. So it's been.
Also, businesses like hair salons, they're all being hit with it too.
Yes, or places that can't operate because they just can't cook the food that they would normally cook or whatever. So it's been a whole thing for a lot of people in Tupelo and the surrounding area, and a lot of people from out of state have come in to help. So I can totally see how somebody is trying to take advantage of that situation right now, right? And scam people. Okay, so what happened?
So this was Saturday, during that round of storms. We had left for a little bit. My cousin and his wife, they have a really young baby, and so obviously having a baby, you can't be too safe. I mean, if it was just me, I'd probably have slept through the whole thing, because I'm sleeping weather, yay. Don't let Matt hear that, because he'd be like, hey, you know better than that. When I say get to the safe place, and get to the safe place. But I'm still not used to being at home during severe weather, so I'm this is still foreign to me. Anyway, we leave, go to my neighborhood storm shelter, and when we left the house, everything was fine. Nothing was off, nothing was weird. Anyways, we come back probably 30 minutes later. It wasn't long at all. I walk in the house, and my house smelled like plastic burning. It was a strong smell. You walked in, and I was like, oh, that smells terrible. And so my mom, was there, and everyone else, and it was more contained to certain parts of the house, but we didn't see anything that was obvious, that was burning or anything. So she calls my dad and was like, what should we do? He said, call the fire department just to make sure that there's not an active fire hazard. Obviously, we've been through a night and a day of severe weather, lightning storms, whatever. So the fire department comes out, and they check the attic, they check inside the house, just for an active fire threat, and they don't find anything. But they were like, okay, so what we recommend is you get an electrician out here, because it has to be something electrical. All your power's out, you're smelling a weird smell, don't mess with the breaker box, leave everything how it is until you can get somebody out here to kind of really see what was impacted, if it was a lightning strike, whatever. So we don't know an electrician. Well, I mean, we do now, but at that point we didn't. And so my mom had posted on Facebook, which I think I gave her that idea, because I was just post on Facebook,
somebody will tell you.
Yeah, somebody always knows somebody, and they have a recommendation, whatever. And so she had posted needing an electrician, drop a recommendation. So anyways, I was kind of preoccupied at the time. Like I was helping my cousin and his wife get the baby to sleep because I'm just like soaking in all the cuddles of having a baby in my house.
Yeah.
So I took the baby to the back, rocking him. We had been up like all night, Friday night, literally till like 4 a.m. So I was exhausted. We all were. And my mom tells me, she's like, hey, I've had this guy reach out and he says he can come today, which obviously was the best scenario because we're still in a flash flood warning. My street is literally flooded. Like the drainage ditches are like overflowing with water, you know, and while I have hot water and I'm super thankful, I'm like, well, we're in the dark, you know, so
get an electrician
here.
An
electrician that's willing to come out in this weather, perfect. And she tells me he wants X amount of dollars for a service call. He'll take that out of the total once, you know, it's complete. And I was just kind of like, I just remember saying, like, I was walking to the back bedroom to, you know, rock the baby to sleep. And I was like, I wouldn't send him any money till he actually shows up. Just tell him you'll pay him when he gets here and figures out what's wrong, because nobody should be asking money up front before they even get to your property.
Yeah.
Red flag. And then, but you know, her being a mom, she's just worried at that point. Like she's wanting to get somebody out there quick. It still smells bad. You know, we don't know what could happen next.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, where's he located? And she said, he's in blank, blank neighborhood, which is my neighborhood. And I'm like,
what?
She had already told him that's where I was.
And he's like, oh,
He's
right
like,
around the corner.
I'm in so-and-so neighborhood too. And I'm like,
that's convenient.
Okay, that's odd. So you should be here fairly quick.
Yeah.
I go to the back room, the baby and I fall asleep. And I mean, I was asleep for maybe an hour. I don't think much longer, maybe even a little bit less. And I mean, I had the door open, so I knew that nobody had come in, you know, because if an electrician would have come in, one, he would have been through all the bedrooms and nobody ever came back there. And so I wake up and, as I'm waking up, my mom's like coming to the back bedroom and she's telling me like, okay, well, for one, I just had sent this guy money and like, he's not legit. So I've talked to Venmo and like, they're gonna help to like dispute the charge, and it could take like up to 2 weeks, but they are gonna work to stop it, you know, because I told them the whole situation. Like he's, obviously he never showed up and he's not legit. So, okay. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I was like, Mom, like I told you, don't send the money, you know, whatever. But you know, she's just trying to see the best and get somebody out there quickly.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, but that's not all. A couple minutes later, after she sent the money, literally minutes later, her phone rings. And it is a guy on the other line, a man, who's like, where's my phone so I can, okay, who's telling her that he works with the Lee County Sheriff's Office and he's Sergeant so-and-so. And, you know, he's claiming that they had stopped at her house and they had some federal papers for me, her daughter. And I'm assuming that if she would have kept the conversation going further, they would have asked for a certain amount of money to like clear whatever.
Who has this much time on their hands? Different guy, totally different person. These are like essentially two separate scams.
Yes, or
could have been the same.
Could have been the same because it was so quick after the Venmo
and
transaction.
He had her number.
And he had her number. Just operating
People
obviously
need
under a different, you know, person, a different identity.
Spoofing. Okay.
And so anyway, she hangs up the phone. I don't remember exactly what she said to get off the phone. Maybe she was gonna call her husband and check or something, which she did call my dad, and my dad called the sheriff, and the sheriff was like, it's 100% a scam. Like, don't, you know, fall for it. Don't engage, whatever. But I did want to call because when I woke up, I was like, and she was telling me everything. I'm like, okay, well, let me call and talk to sergeant from the Lee County Sheriff's Office, because like, if you can be talking to my parents about, I've never even been to jail. Like, I've never had a record. I've never missed a court. I've never been to court. There's never been a court date to miss. and you're telling my parents you showed up at their house with papers because I missed a federal court. It just
Sketchy.
So yeah, I was
on a
like,
Saturday.
literally during severe weather. So
Yeah.
anyways, it was just.
So you called the number.
So I called the number, and I will play the voicemail for you when I find it. Not the voicemail. Sorry, the first time I called, I left a voicemail because.
So you recorded your call with.
So my mom recorded it because I used my phone, and my mom was in there with me, and first time I called went to voicemail. So I left a voicemail saying, "Hey, this is Alyssa. I think you're trying to get a hold of me. Give me a call back."
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted to know what they had to say. Like, they're trying to find me. Okay, you know. So, anyways, my mom recorded the call, so I'm going to play it for you. And just, you know, obviously you can tell where things kind of like ended, because when I asked for some information, like, okay, what's X, Y, and Z, then they hang up. So, anyways, we'll listen.
Your mom earlier, it was actually regarding you though. Did she actually call and tell you or let you know?
Yeah, I mean, she somewhat told me, but I have no clue what she's talking about.
Well, basically what it's stating is that this was actually for Miss Alyssa, Alyssa, and then Martin, Martin, and it states that the middle name is actually Brianna, Brianna. It's actually showing that on February the 24th, it was actually at 4:30 p.m. It states 2 officers came out to the residence of 7.
My mom said,
Where that resident.
That's not where I live.
What do you next to know who resident that is? Because that's where that that was actually served at. It was a summons that was actually for you to attend a federal court appearance, and the state says for a high-profile federal case.
high profile. Yeah.
I have.
The ask that is because someone did actually sign the document at that residence.
Flash flood warning.
It wasn't me, and I don't live there, so I don't know who would have signed it. I don't have any connection to that address.
I mean, I can already see that your address is actually the 32.
No, I don't live there either. I have not lived there since 2019.
Okay, what about the one in Arkansas?
I've never lived in Arkansas, so clearly you're not with the Lake County Sheriff's Department and you don't have a federal indictment. Do you know my birthday?
He said, click. Yeah. So I've never lived in Arkansas. I don't even think I've been to Arkansas.
He got caught. He
yeah,
knew.
and-
He knew you weren't falling for it,
But obviously, you can Google somebody and find their previous addresses.
which is kind of scary.
I did live at that address in Huntsville, but I moved in 2019.
Years ago.
Yeah. And he was using my parents' address, which we blurred out. So my parents' address isn't on the,
Yeah.
podcast internet
Yeah.
for people to see. But he was using my parents' address. I just didn't tell him, yeah, that's where my parents live, because that would have given him more ammo. I mean, he was already saying somebody signed off on the federal indictment at that address.
That's so
That would have
scary.
been my parents. And
Yeah.
definitely wasn't them, But my dad had already talked to Sheriff Johnson, and he was like, it's a scam, like 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And you should report
Obviously.
those things. Like you should
yeah,
let
there's just like nothing that, it's sad, but like there's nothing that
they can do.
they can do, because you don't know. You can easily get a fake phone number, Google Voice. Anybody can pose as a legit.
I could say I'm whatever.
Yeah, you can say you're whoever. You can set up a voicemail, but luckily, for that instance, I was like red flag, red flag, red flag. But not everybody's gonna realize that.
Yes.
So, and there are gonna be people that fall victim to it.
Oh my gosh, but never send anybody money.
Yeah, I
Ever,
know.
ever, ever.
And my poor mom, like, she's obviously just
It
like.
happens all the time when you're vulnerable and in the moment. You're like, oh my gosh, you need
Yeah, like, I
electricity.
need help. Like, it's still storming. We don't have electricity. This person says they'll come out on a Saturday during a flash flood. Like, but, luckily she's going to get her money back from Venmo, and we have found a great electrician. So shout out to Patrick Wallace.
Yay, Patrick Wallace, thank you.
He came out on Sunday, got everything, which lightning
Working.
did strike the
Okay.
back of the house.
Okay.
Where the, I don't really know technical terms, where there's like a area where all like a bunch of cords and stuff come out at the back of my house.
Okay.
And when Xfinity was there and they were looking, they said that's where lightning hit, but because all those are grounded,
Okay.
it didn't cause a fire, it didn't spark, it
Oh, that's
didn't
good.
melt. But that's why it like pretty much fried what it fried on the inside. I mean, it took out my fridge, my freezer, my internet modem, like it took out random appliances.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
Yeah, but I'm like, I'm not gonna complain about not having a fridge and a freezer.
At least you have
It's
heat.
very inconvenient, but I have heat and I have hot water, you know.
Yeah.
I can survive without that, you know,
For a little bit.
but at least I have a hot shower.
Oh my gosh.
And obviously my internet got fixed yesterday.
Good.
Like Patrick was at my house working yesterday. My days are running together.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah.
Well, if you have any crazy scam stories, please let us know in the comments or send us an email at offtherecord662@gmail.com. We want to know your stories.
Yes, and remember, it's too good to be true. Probably is.
Yes.
We just, want you guys to be safe. Take it from us. It's
Yes.
easy to fall victim to these things, so.
Yeah. Always go with your gut and red flags. Like red flags are definitely God's way of being like,
Yeah.
No, not a
Your
good idea.
intuition's strong.
Especially a woman's intuition,
Yeah.
for sure.
More on that later.
Yeah. All right. We'll see.